We have, like Bill and Carolyn alluded to, we have a very strong belief that our dealers are only going to be as good as what we give them and how much time we invest in them. We believe in investing in our dealers to make it a partnership, and it's a win-win because we want the end user to win, we want the dealer to win, and we want to be happy at the end of the day that knowing that we did our best, we did it honestly and right. Our desire is to put out the best quality, finest quality, consistent supplements to the West Coast. We have top quality customer service. I learned this was drilled in my head in the 70s from Richard Lewis, who started Lumix. And it's a universal truth that's equally as important today as it was back then. Economically formulated, there's no extra fluff in these things. They're made specifically for this region, for this area. Full technical support. We have our suppliers rep, like Dr. Reis is behind us. We have a chemist, a little Filipino down in our chemist lab down in Kingsburg at our plant, and we have a lab that I challenge anybody in the feed industry to come and say theirs is as good, if not better. And we've got this little Filipino that's he's our insurance policy because we know that every time a load of supplement goes on the truck or a load of Phil's fat goes on the truck somewhere, then we're not going to get a call saying this is junk, come pick it up. We get to sleep at night. We have nutritional consulting available. You know, Dr. Luis is available if you want to talk minerals and specifics and that, reproduction. We have another nutritionist out of Clovis who is on a retainer. He does not work for us full time, but he's available to come out and look at situations and help design some dry mineral programs or some liquid programs for you as well, for opinion. Grass sampling, you know, we don't want to get carried away. We really have a good handle on what grasses are, but if somebody says, you know, there's something deficient, I just don't know what it is, let's see if we can isolate it, you know, give us a call. Water sampling, you may want to consider that as well if you're really looking at honing in a problem. Luis will talk a little more on that as well. And then we appreciate each one of you coming, and one point I didn't finish up a moment ago, I really want to share. And that's the point I put early on in the presentation about cow-calf operators in the driver's seat. And I can tell you this, back in about 2008, 2007 sometime, Pete Crow from Western Livestock Terminal called me one day and he says, Geoff, we got a train wreck coming in the U.S. And I'm thinking politically, environmentally.
Which one?
Yeah, where are we going with this? He says, none of the above. He says, we got a train wreck in that we don't have enough cattle in the future to hit the supply side on the supply demand. I said, really? How so? Well, we've had little pockets of drought. You know, we heard about the drought in the Midwest this year that hit corn and soybeans. We got little droughts over here. You know, we have a drought over this part of the country. And the bottom line is in each region where we had droughts over the last 10 or 15 years, you know, people had to cull cows. They had to spade heifers and send them to the feedlot instead of keep them for regrowth. So we had that kind of a problem going on. Well, he called me about a year ago, or it might have been this spring. I earned the right to be forgetful. So he called me recently and he says, well, the train wreck just hit. I said, it did. He goes, yeah. He goes, we do not have enough commercial cattle to fit the need. He says, look at it. And we track the futures board. Phil and I track the futures board all the time. And we went to that, say cattle futures and feeder cattle and that, fat cattle, as well as the dairy markets and our respective corn and protein markets. And I said, son of a gun, this market's getting stronger. And he says, this market's going to be pretty good for a while. And the only thing, in my opinion the only thing that's really kind of keeping the lid right now on this beef price and the meat case from not really escalating is that we got dairy cattle going to butcher so fast. It's a house cleaning, if you will, of the dairy industry. And that's kind of keeping the lid on to the consumer. But when that settles out here in the next 60 or 90 days, you know, look out, because meats are going to go up. It's going to go up universally across the board. So anyway, that's what I mean. Cow-calf operators are in the driver's seat. You got enough grass and feed to keep your cows going. You're in the driver's seat. So, any questions? Okay. Well, I'm going to introduce Phil Waidel, one of my colleagues. He's going to talk for a few minutes about kind of current events, what's happening behind the scenes, and why is corn going crazy, and some of these other things as it ties to livestock production.
Well, thank you for inviting me here. I told Geoff that I had about 40 slides, take about 30 minutes, and he told me no. And I said, well, maybe I can get it down to maybe 20 slides in 15 minutes, and he said no. And I said, okay, I got two numbers that you need to take home with you. No slides in 5 minutes, so start the clock. First number is 5%. The second number is 10%. Those are the two numbers you need to remember. We got a USDA report coming out next week. It's going to tell us how much corn we're going to produce here in the United States. And it's going to be down a little over 10 billion bushels. And they were expecting us to produce about 12 billion bushels of corn this year. So if you take 10 billion bushels, and, well, when we were supposed to produce 12, the ethanol industry wanted 40% of it. And food, feed industry wanted 40% of it. And exporters wanted 20% of it. So now you're going to take and reduce the crop by a little over 10%. USDA said, well, pipeline is 5%. We got to carry out 5%. What's 5%? That's 2.5 weeks. That's 17 days. That's your pipeline between what Foster Farms needs in their elevator here in California, what they need in their rail cars going back to the Midwest, what you need in the elevators in the Midwest, what you need at the ethanol plant, what you need at the hog farm, what you need at the dairy. 5%, that's your pipeline next September 1st. Well, if cattle want 40%, or cattle and chickens and hogs and sugar, corn sweetener manufacturers, and everybody that uses corn, and the exporters, if we want 40% to feed livestock and the rest of the industries, and you want 20% for export, and you want 40% for ethanol, everybody's got to cut back at least 10%, right? Well, the exporter, that's not too hard for him, because 6 months from now, you got a South American crop coming off. They're getting ready to start planting now, and they're planting wall to wall, corn and beans. So we have a decent crop this year in South America. We might be able to make it through. And those people in other countries, they can pull back a little bit, take what they need from us in the spring or in the winter, and then buy South American or Australian or somewhere else next spring when we get ready to start planting. The cattle feeders, well, let's start with the dairy guys. They're cutting back 10% now anyway, because they're dying. Chicken guys in the Mid-South, they're not having any fun. Chicken business is, we're printing black numbers here, but most of the people are starting to print red numbers in the chicken business. The hog guys are losing money. What are the cattle feeders losing? $200 a head is the number that I keep hearing.
Plus.
$200 a head.
300.
Yeah. It's pretty easy to cut back 10% on your cattle feeding, isn't it? Problem is, we're already at the smallest herd numbers in recent history. How far you got to go back to have more cows than we've got right now, or less cows than we've got right now? 60 years, something like that. So now what are you going to do? Because the ethanol guy, he doesn't want 40%, he wants 40% of a 12 billion bushel crop. Well, you know what? That's 50%. 50% of a 10 billion bushel crop. He wants half now, not 40%. And he doesn't have to cut back because there's a mandate out there that says we have to have 10% ethanol
our gasoline. And that won't get changed anytime soon. And they said, well, okay, free markets will dictate they've got to slow down too. Well, that's fine. Ethanol business is just about break even right now. But what you don't see is the fact that the blenders that buy the ethanol, the gas companies, they're making about 25 cents a gallon, maybe a little bit more per gallon on the ethanol, blending it into the gasoline, because gas prices are up a little bit, ethanol prices come up with it, and they know exactly where they've got to be to keep the ethanol guy producing, and they make the money in between. If you take, and they'll pay the ethanol guy to keep producing. With gas where it's at, you'd have to get corn to over $9 a bushel, nearly $9.50 a bushel, to get the ethanol guys to break even, the blenders to break even, and for us to back off of ethanol production. So they want half of the corn crop. So now you guys are going to have to cut back, feed beef cattle less corn. That's easier to do than feeding chickens less corn. There's not much you can replace the corn and the chicken feed with. Or hogs, they don't do well on wheat. So who's going to cut back? Who's going to give up that 10% so that we can carry out 5? And that's just to get to the pipeline. So the other thing you need to think about is, okay, how do I get through this year as a cattle rancher, cow-calf operator? How do I get through this year to take advantage of that? Because if we reduce our cattle numbers anymore, and this is the thing that we're up against in this industry, if we reduce our cattle numbers anymore, the U.S. is going to be a net importer of beef next year. First time ever that we will import more beef than we export. That's how close we are right now. So, if you guys can hang on, if you guys can produce the calves, if you guys can maintain your stocks out here, raise whatever feed you can, do whatever you can to hang on, look at the supplements, keep your cows in good shape, keep them reproducing, you know, you got a shot at it. But it's going to be a tough go. It's going to be a tough go for all of us. So if we can help you guys, let us know. Talk to our friends here at the Reises. And, you know, if you have any questions, Geoff's a great resource. I'm always asking him about, I got a few black cows up on the hill for myself. Bad habit, keeps me out of the bars at night. But, you know, I'm always asking Geoff questions. You know, this is what I'm seeing. What do you think? And this is the stuff I feed at home. So, and I don't get a discount. I buy it from our dealer down there. But anyway, any questions? 5 and 10%. That's all you got to remember.
Is there a petition out there for the EPA to reduce their mandate?
Yeah. Just about all of the feed industries and the livestock groups, they petitioned all of the governors. They petitioned the EPA. Most associations are involved in it. You know, we belong to several different associations. AFIA, American Feed Industry Association, National Grain and Feed Association, National Chicken Council, National Cattlemen's Association. We're members of all of them, and at least we finally got. This is a small concession here in California. The governor signed legislation this last week to end the support program here in California for the ethanol producers. Now there's only 3 here in California. There's 3 ethanol producers. And they've got a support program out there through the state of California to produce ethanol here, where it's not cost effective. They're railing corn all the way out here to produce ethanol here when it's cheaper to transport the ethanol. You know, it takes, you get 2 gallons of ethanol for every bushel of corn. 2 gallons of ethanol weighs less than 20 pounds. A bushel of corn weighs 56 pounds. So you got to truck almost 3 times, or rail almost 3 times the amount of weight out here to get enough corn out here to produce 2.2 gallons of ethanol.
This is a huge political issue, a very political year.
Yes. Yeah,
And
and
we're not hearing that much about
do you know when the EPA is going to have their review?
after the election.
Week after the election. Week after the election, the EPA will review the mandate. Because by then we'll know what the corn crop is. You know, we can't do anything now because we don't know. But look at the USDA report out next Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it's the 12th, Wednesday. It's the USDA report. They'll come out with a new estimate for this year's corn and bean crop. And the corn crop, conventional wisdom says somewhere around 10.5 billion bushels, maybe a hair less than that. There are a lot of people that are thinking it could be closer to 10.0. And it hasn't been that many years where we thought 5 or 6 billion bushels, 7 billion bushels was just a huge crop. Now, 5 billion bushels goes to the ethanol industry. And unfortunately, what it's done for the beef producer here in the U.S. is made them non-competitive worldwide. So, anyway, good luck, hang in there, and hopefully I didn't ruin your meal. Thank you.
As you can see, there's some good resource people again behind the Reis family here and everything. As Luis gets ready, I want to just introduce him. It has been an honor for a number of years now to be able to associate with an individual like Luis Rodriques. He speaks with a accent, as you'll notice pretty soon. He's from Venezuela, and we may need to call an interpreter in, but he will get through this. Anyway, we love to jab each other back and forth, so I'll leave it at that because he'll hammer me. But it is an honor to have Dr. Reis here from Zinpro Corporation, and I find it fascinating, very brilliant mind when it comes to working with beef cattle and dairy cattle and specific minerals and so forth. And this guy is a real innovator. He's a real problem solver, if you will, and just a neat guy to work with. So, Luis?
Thank you, Geoff. Thank you for a kind introduction. They say I have an accent, but I tell people I have a southern accent. But it's really way down south. So I want to tell you a little bit about me. I grew up in the cow-calf operation down south. With my dad, he used to have about 500 cows. Went to school, got an animal science degree, and fell in love with dairy cows. I never went back to the ranch. I've been working in the dairy and beef industry on the beef side, but with the beef more than the beef side than going back to the calf operation. I came to the U.S. about 20 years ago. Did a master's and a PhD in nutrition, specifically in mineral nutrition. I've been working since then. I went back to South America, Central America, and Mexico. And I've worked in the Eastern U.S., Northern, Midwest, Texas, and now in California. So I've been truly an all-American, believe it or not. North, South, Central, North America. So people start. What I learned over the years here is that people start always with a joke in their presentations. And I'm going to start with a challenge to you. And can you tell me what this represents? patent from 1897. I'm going to give you that hint. But if you can see, that's a cow, for sure. It's a beef cow, probably. I don't think it was a dairy cow, but any clue?
Yeah, that's how you cut it up.
It's a hunting decoy.
That's a hunting decoy.
Yep. And the reason why I put it out up there is because I truly believe in innovation. And the guy who believes, I mean, if you would think this is innovation back in 1897, these guys really want to get the fastest. I'll show you how it looked like. It's like, either it's not up in here. That's innovation back in 1897. They really want to get closer to the pheasant, so they thought they were a cow. And the way it works, it was, he'll drop the egg, and shoot there. And this guy from, I guess that was, this side is not the rumen. The rumen is on the other side, but you can see they got a little window there, so they can see the side. The reason why I put that there is because I truly believe if you want to pass your cow-calf operation to the next generation, you have to keep innovating. There's a reason why you have that business today, and I can guarantee you your generation before somehow figure out how to make a business out of it and keep passing it to you. And if you do that, I mean, we are going through stress, like Phil was telling us, we're going through tremendous stress now in the feed industry. We need to figure out how we're going to do this business so we can keep the generations coming doing it. Because if not, somebody else will do it somewhere in other country. And the reason why I said that, I recently read this book. It's called Startup Nation. And that book is about the miracle, the economic miracle of Israel. And I will encourage you to go and buy that book and read it. Because these guys are truly innovators. This is probably categorized as the most innovative country in the world. And Israel was founded in 1948. And what is interesting is these guys have grown 50-fold, economic growth 50-fold in 60 years. And you know what it's based on? It's based on the military. These guys have the most creative innovators come from the military bases. And what's interesting is, you know why they do it? Because they have all countries around them want to liquidate it, survival. So they survival mode. And we're probably getting there with opinions. We're probably in survival mode right now. So I would encourage you to go and read this book, which is very interesting. Well, that's my joke or my presentation to start with, but I don't know why my thing maybe running out of battery here, but it's not going to work. I'm going to start with my summary. The reason why I want to start with my summary is because it's 8:30 after a big meal, you might fall asleep. So if you don't remember anything, you're going to remember my summary. So I work for Zinpro. I'm the California representative for Zinpro. We sell products on trace elements. And we sell available is the product we're going to be talking today. It's based on zinc, manganese, copper, and cobalt. It's 4 trace elements that we put in products like phosphor liquid that your cow's probably eating 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds. Our product is 7 grams. It's a really tiny molecule that is going in there, and we will show you with our research how it works. Oh, yes, please. I think I've got an battery. There we go. So we know that our research shows that improving trace nutrition absorption is important for getting cows bred early, to get a lively calf, and to get calf health. Those are 3 things you really need to work on in order to be economically efficient in your cow-calf operation. Now we know by our research that Zinpro performance minerals increase your cow-calf return. We are a company based on research, and we don't bring any product to any market. It doesn't bring a return to the end user. That's what we're based on. We work that way. It's been a very successful model for us. We have products that go into the feeding, into the poultry industry, like cluster farms, is all the broiler chickens are family product. We have products that go into the dairy industry, products that go into the beef, cow-calf, feedlots, swine, everywhere else. But we're going to talk specifically to our research on cow-calf today. And I'm going to start talking, I'm going to give some introduction of things that we believe that you should do for cow-calf. We'll go through how our products works in cows and in bulls. And then at the end, I will show you a video that we might have trouble because we don't have the audio today. I might just be able to show one of the videos because of the audio is, we thought the audio is really hard. Some people from feedlots back in the Midwest that talk about the use of, the importance of using trace minerals in their programs and the conclusions at the end. This slide shows over the last 20 years, our weaning weights have been increasing. And our age of weaning is being decreased. And what that does to your animals is you're trying to raise an animal that's growing faster in a shorter time. And that's great. We do that with technology. We do that with management, nutrition. We see the same thing in the dairy industry. But what this does is this creates stress. The animals are not in the stress in a bad way, it just creates stress to perform at that level. And we know that to do that, you need quality nutrition. I want to talk about immunity, why worry about it. We know that morbidity equals sickness, and mortality equals death loss. And we know that morbidity can impact the consumer eating experience. Morbidity will affect what you were eating today. If you're eating beef, and your cows, so those beef steaks are coming from animals that were sick, I can guarantee you your experience will be way different than it's from a healthy animal. And we know by research, it shows. This is a study done back in the Midwest, and it was published from about 10 years ago. You can see these respiratory tract lesions. We have from cattle that have none, cattle that have an inactive or an active lesion. And you can see the percent tender goes down, percent tough goes up. So health, even though you can fix the animal and get it back on track, if you get an animal that is sick, that animal will be different on the plate. And that's what we sell. That's what you sell at the end. So we have to try to guarantee that those animals are the least sick when they go through your process. We know that morbidity affects the return. It affects performance and efficiency. It affects medicine and the labor. It affects premature culling and the carcass quality, as I explained to you already. All those things are affected by morbidity. This is a study that is very interesting. This is a study done in Iowa, involving almost 50,000 head of cattle from 2002 to 2009. And what it shows is animals that have treatment, no treatment, or animals that have one treatment or two treatments. Their average daily gain was affected. Their days in feeds went up, but look at the profit. So animals with just one treatment will bring the animal into the red. Do you think the feedlot guys doesn't know that? They do. They do know that animals that get sick into their system is lost forever. So they're really starting to pay attention to this. And I'll show you that later. And this study actually was done with the $3 corn, and we're talking about $8 corn now. So this number even will probably double or triple to the current corn price. Productivity depends on balanced intake of nutrients, and we know that there are different factors that determine the status of minerals in cattle. The first one is how much is transferred from the cow to the calf. This is a forgotten piece that when we are creating calf, it is developing the womb and the womb of that animal. That is important that your nutrient goes in. A lot of people say, no, I don't feed until the cow calf. Well, the animal was born when that cow was in gestation. And there is one reason why today people in the medical industry, for humans, they have prenatal minerals and vitamins. For every woman that goes out there, they have. There's a reason for that. Because we want that kid to be healthy. We know that there's a lot of things that started to develop. Those genes started to form when that animal is in the uterus. We want you to know that in cattle, it works the same way. We know that dietary and trace elements are are available, some from forage, some from supplements. We know there's some variability there. Water quality, very key. There's a lot of interactions and things that are in the water that will affect your mineral nutrition. There are animals that will, trace elements that will tie some of the elements that go into your ration because there are excess of them in the water. So water analysis is important. And the last thing that I have here is production demands. We have animals that grow faster, or we want to breed them and get more pregnancy into them. We have to feed good trace elements. This is and I tried to do this mineral talk. If you have been to a mineral talk before, I've been to many of them. A lot of people start talking about minerals and they talk to you about what copper does and what zinc does and what selenium does. I'm not going to talk about that. I wanted to show you the results, why you should do it. Because I'll put you to sleep real quick. This is probably the only one that I'm going to show you that there are all interactions that happen between these elements. And this is where water is key. When you have a high sulfur water or a high molybdenum, it will affect your copper. The same for the grasses. If you have too much zinc, it will affect your copper. If you have too much iron, it will affect your zinc, copper, and manganese. And we know that specifically in California, probably sulfur and iron are our major key elements in the water that can be affecting our cattle there. So I encourage you to take some water samples and be sure that your animals are not affected by it. Optimal reproduction relies on a balanced trace mineral nutrition. We know that by research. And the thing is, we know is that the greatest requirements are during late gestation, as I just talked about it, rebreeding, and lactation. That's probably the key window where you have to supplement. If you have a cow that is already dry, and she's not really close to calving, probably she's not as demanding as a cow that is just about to calve, or a cow that is feeding in her second month of lactation. We know that forages are low in essential minerals. We know that sulfur, iron, and molybdenum, as I told you, interfere with key minerals, specifically zinc, copper, and manganese. We encourage you to monitor your forage and your water quality, definitely. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Zinpro and what we do, so you understand how our product works and how we make a difference. We have a unique design. We are an amino acid attached to an element. I'll show you in a little bit in the next slide. We increase availability to the animal. That's our key by changing the unique design. Our research shows that we increase performance. We have Waidel 4 is a product that has 4 elements. It has zinc, copper, manganese, and cobalt. And what we do is, if you have zinc oxide like here, you have a molecule of zinc attached to an oxide, an oxygen. What we do is we attach our zinc to a methionine. That's the amino acid. And by doing that, we send that mineral through a different route. In the intestine, we don't go through where zinc oxide goes into the animal, we go where the protein goes. So by doing that, you improve the bioavailability of the animal, of the mineral, and also you reduce the interaction with other elements. We have the design of a patented design that our product doesn't interact with molybdenum, for example, or your sulfur or your iron in the water. It doesn't interact with. We target different responses for the cow-calf. We look at a fertility with all these elements. Our cobalt targets rumen function. We look at fetal development, disease of resistance. This is mostly immunity, what we improve. We go into skin and claw health. We have shown this in many different species. We know that we improve heat in beef, in dairy, in horses, in sheep, in pigs, and in poultry. Actually, we increase the paw health in them. And in cows and any animal that lactates, we know that we increase milk production. We have shown that before with research. So what about the performance? Let's talk a little bit of reproduction efficiency and the performance of the minerals at the cow-calf level. The most important factor affecting cow-calf production is how many is reproduction, and that is affected by how many and how early you get your cows within your breeding season. You want to know if you can get 80 or 90. There's a big difference out of 100, and the other one is how soon you get it. I mean, everyone gets the 80 to 90. Some people miss the how early it does, and I'll show you some research that shows why that is important. This is Dr. Funstone at the University of Nebraska, and he says if there is one silver bullet in cow-calf production, it's getting your cows bred early. That's what we're going to be talking about. This study from Texas A&M that they summarize is about 5 herds about 10 years ago. It shows that if you get your cows bred in the first 21 days, your return on investment is about 11% back then. And as you get into your second 21 days of the breeding cycle, or your third, you break even right here. By the third cycle, you're losing money already. At least back when these economics studies were done. The economics change over time, but it really shows the impact, that the impact hasn't changed. It might be a little different, but not, but the shape of that course will be very similar. This is, same study shows that at $150, $150 a pound, these cows are about $37.50 less than these cows, and these cows are about $45 less. That's how much you're losing by going into one cycle and the other. Go to next. We know from our research there are 13 studies what we have done across all these universities, and I'm not going to go through all of that, but what we do is we repeat our studies all over and over. We show that, go back. We show faster returns with ovarian activity. We know that these cows cycle better when they're eating our products, and faster. Go ahead. This is a study that we did, I think this is back in Florida, I believe. We increased about 8 percentage units. The pregnancy rate when animals were fed available for is the same product, the same mineral, just that we added those 7 grams on top of the 112 grams that they were eating out of this dry, 4 ounces out of the dry feed. Go ahead. This is another study that I think we did this one in Louisiana, I believe, in Louisiana State down in. And it shows that we have repeated 3 different years, and we can see that every single year we have 2 years where we improve significantly different. We're reducing calcium intervals in these animals. We have a medical difference in year 2, but overall, it was a reduction in calcium interval. What it's telling us is that the cows are breeding faster when we feed the available for. We also have some studies in bull fertility. It shows that, go ahead. It shows that motile sperm, percent motile increase, pre-freeze. This is a study done for artificial insemination. And we can see we have an increase in the pre-freeze and post-freeze in the motile sperm. And we also have, go to the next, more of a progressive kind of sperm when you feed the trace element to these animals. So what's the value of getting these cows early in the season, bred early in the season? This study is from Nebraska, and it shows that if you calf your cows that get bred in the first 21 days, your second 21 days, or your third 21 days, you can see that the weaning, even though the calf body weight was exactly the same, there's no difference there. The calf weaning weight was less every time you go later into your breeding period. And the main reason is because the age, I mean, the yield gain wasn't different, but the age of those animals at weaning were way different by the time you have to sell them. So that's what is really hurting you as a business, is you don't have enough time to really grow those animals. When you see, can you go back? It will create a difference of about 32 pounds between this and this, and about 80 pounds between that and that. Go ahead. And that will translate into about $48 for the first, at $150 a pound. It will be about $48 for the difference between these two, and about $120 for these two. And that's about $3 a day. That's what it comes to. Every time your cow misses a day after the 21-day first breeding cycle, you're losing $3 a cow. That's what that study says. So the cost of feeding a bale of 40 is just about 3 cents. It definitely pays to go and improve your efficiency. Go ahead. So if you optimize your health, your performance balance. We know that in every single species that we work with, you have to have adequate intake of effective trace elements because you want immune function to be improved. It's the first thing that is compromised once you challenge trace element nutrition. Go to the next one. this slide shows if you have animals on trace mineral status that are optimal, they are performing well. As those animals go from optimal to clinical, so they have a deficiency, and they start declining in their status, the first thing that get hit is immunity. We know that by research. Your animals will get sick, and you will too. If you challenge your trace element nutrition and you increase your stress level, I can guarantee you will get sick. It's just like we do. That's the first thing you get. You're probably not losing weight yet, but you might be losing weight if you get really sick. You know that this is an interesting fact. A white blood cell requires as much energy as a heart cell at full speed. Just imagine that. When your heart is pumping really hard and all that energy you need to run that fast, your immune cells require the same amount of energy to fight the bugs out of you. So when you have those animals fighting the disease, a lot of that energy that you're feeding them is going just to fight the bugs out. And those animals can convert that to weight. So that's one of the main reasons why it's so important. So let's set the stage. Cow nutrition during gestation definitely all start there. Start when the cows are in late gestation. We know why that. The first thing is because of this calf. We know that after the cow's calf, like this is mid-March, a couple months later, all those copper, vitamin E, the IgGs, all this immunity is going downhill, and that's usually when that calf starts getting sick. So you want to prepare this animal with enough nutrients so he has a good start. Go ahead. By research, we know that if we improve the animals that receive low quality colostrum or inactivated amounts of colostrum, we know that they are 5.4 more times to get sick before weaning, and we know that are 3 times more likely to get sick during the feedlot. So whatever you can do to slow down that and improve your health, you will improve the overall performance of the animal. Yes, you know that cow that gets sick by research, they are about 35 pounds lighter. That's your only loss. And that pound loss is because if they get sick, a lot of those nutrients were going to fight that disease and not going to the weight gain. This is 3 studies we have done in dairy. We don't have a colostrum study in ruminants on the beef side, but we have plenty of them on the dairy side and in the sheep side too. And what we show is on average, we improve about 20-25% the quality of the colostrum. And that's where the whole thing starts. We wanted the colostrum with high immunity, high IgGs, with high immunoglobulins in it. Go ahead. We know that this study on cows, we fed cows Waidel or standard minerals without Waidel. And what we say is a response to the scour vaccine to those calves that were coming out of those cows. You can see that the immunity was there. Those animals were able to respond to the vaccine better because their immune system was prepared for it. This is the same study, how many scours they have, and how many multiple treatments you have, and you see that as you feed them the trace elements, you decrease the amount of scours on the repetition of those treatments. Go ahead. In this study also we show that we can increase milk production out of these first calf heifers when they were in our trace element compared to the ones that were not. And by doing a higher milk production and a better health, what it ended up in, and you can go ahead and move to the next one right there. We increased by 5% improvement in weight gain in those animals that we eat. So doing what works for a bottom line, that's what we want you to do. Go ahead. This is what we recommend. We don't recommend that you feed our product everywhere, but we recommend you to put it in the windows of opportunity where we'll give you the best return. We know that that is about 60 to 80 days pre and post gap. So you want to go through those 120, 160 days, and whatever the window you want to go between late gestation and early lactation. Because that's where the demand is high. That's where you will get the best return out of your investment in your cow operation. Go back. That will get cows bred back. The goal of this is to get cows bred back early, to improve the overall health and to increase your weaning weight in your animals. If you see, go to the next slide, please. If you get cows breeding sooner, we know this is an evaluation of return on investment. If you have the same pregnancy rate, and this is not really improving, we know that we can improve pregnancy rate, but these herds were already at a high pregnancy rate. But if you increase at the same weaning rate, same calving rate, if you just decrease the calving interval by 10 days and increase your weaning age by 10 days, that at $1.30, that we're not there anymore, we're higher than that, that would be about a 6-to-1 return on investment on what you do, and what you feed with our products. So the second window of opportunity for a cow-calf operation is at weaning. And this is for the calf, not really for a cow. Once your cows get pregnant and you get bred, you can throw them into regular mineral, liquid with regular mineral, or dry with regular mineral. But once those calves are weaned, that's stress. And we know by research that our products perform the best when animals are under stress or in high demand for performance. So if you feed these 45 days before and 45 days after weaning, you will decrease the stress and impact into the feedlot. You will improve the immunity, and it will increase the grain response. Go ahead. We have this study that we did in 10 ranches. I believe this is somewhere in the Midwest or Colorado. I can't recall exactly where this was, but we have that cows that were fed at L4 45 to 50 days pre-weaning in the second year. That's what the red bar shows. We were able to decrease the first pull, the re-pulls, and the total pulls of those animals. We were able to improve the immunity and the health of those animals out there. This guy he has a nice video, but I can guarantee you won't hear him. He talks too soft, and we won't probably be able to hear him. But we might be able to hear this one. These are a couple of feedlot guys that talk about how important it is to do quality nutrition to their animals.